The Supreme Court decision means major iPhone app change is on the way. The U.S. Supreme Court effectively upheld a lower court's ruling that Apple must allow third-party iPhone app developers to point customers to their websites when making purchases. This means the company is forced to drop its anti-steering rule for such applications, a major change. It's the primary result of Apple's long-running legal battle with Epic Games. The Supreme Court didn't technically rule on it, but they declined to pick it up as a case, which, upheld what the lower court ruled. With the court's decision, or rather lack of decision, Apple finds itself out of legal options. Now the company must allow developers to notify customers that in-app purchases can be made on their websites as well as in the App Store. Apple fought the change, tooth and nail, because it'll be much harder to collect a 15 to 30% commission on purchases made outside the App Store. So on the surface level, this sounds good. If this is something Netflix caused a big stink over because they didn't want all 30% of every Netflix subscription to go to Apple instead, it's all well and good because now they can tell people if you open the Netflix app, hey, you can sign up on Netflix.com. You don't have to go to the App Store, right? Well, not really, because there are a lot of restrictions. Apple very quickly updated their developer guidelines with all the additional rules, and they largely followed the playbook of, I think, how this works in the Netherlands and Japan and other countries where this has been ruled on as well. There can only be one single link to one URL inside the app. The link can only appear in one fixed place and not on any pop-ups or any modal dialog boxes. So it's not like you go to the checkout page and the thing pops up and it's like, hey, you can go on the website instead. No, it has to be in a fixed part of the app. When you tap on the link, a pop-up will appear which says, you're about to go to an external website. Apple is not responsible for the privacy or security of purchases made on the web.
Tim Cook recommends you don't do this.
Purchases made outside the app will be managed by the developer. Your App Store account, store payment method, and related features such as subscription management and refund requests will not be available. Apple can't verify any pricing or promotions offered by the developer. Continue or cancel.
Yeah.
You want to spend money on the internet with your credit card?
They also have a picture of a skull next to it, doesn't it? Like a red skull dripping with blood.
Blinking.
With red glowing eyes.
Yeah. And the best part is Apple still expects developers to pay a commission. So the 30% or 15% tax is only brought down to 27% or 12%. And it's on the developers to just make these payments to Apple. And if Apple doesn't think you're being honest, they are allowed at any time to ask you for an audit of all your transactions and your payments to Apple. And if you don't comply, they can just remove your apps from the App Store or revoke your entire developer account. So,
well, that's the part I thought was most interesting out of all this. We knew that Apple wasn't going to give developers a big savings over this anyway, but they're moving from a we pay you what we owe you model where we deduct our fees on the front end to now it's essentially an honor system. That is a massive shift for and a huge incentive for any developer, unscrupulous developer who wants to try to game the system. Because think how many millions of developers there are. They could all just move to their own payment systems. And what is Apple going to go after all these small developers? They'll go after the big ones, but the small ones are going to be incentivized to basically lie to Apple on how much they're actually selling, which is not a good thing as a huge Apple stockholder. I don't like that part. But I am happy that people have the freedom to do this now. And it's funny, I'm a YouTube, I think they call it YouTube Premium now, subscriber. And what I think regular people don't realize is how much extra Apple tax you're paying when you subscribe to things via Apple, via the app itself, right? In-app payment. Like I was paying some low sum for YouTube Premium, and they wanted to mark it up to $18 a month, which I was like, holy man, that's a huge increase. And then I realized, they're working in the Apple fee into that price. If you go to Google directly, it's much cheaper. And I think a lot of people don't realize this. So for consumers, this could be a good thing. But I think tons of developers are going to lie to Apple about how much they're actually making. I'm certainly not encouraging people to do that, but a lot of people, when it comes to money, are maybe not gonna lie outright and say, oh, we didn't make any sales, but they'll probably adjust how many sales did we actually make? Like Apple's not going to receive everything that they're due. So this is going to mean less revenue for Apple and the App Store, I think. If you're moving to an honor system, that is.
Yeah, the thing is, this is a solution that nobody is happy about because Apple isn't happy that they have to concede even a single penny of the 30% that they like to take. Developers are furious about this. Like I've seen a lot of independent developers, Brent Simmons, et cetera, like going on about how this basically changes nothing and this isn't really giving them anything. Like saying that developers have the freedom to go outside the App Store is a very generous use of the word freedom. And the thing is, the US government isn't going to be like the regulators who are breathing down Apple's neck aren't going to be happy about this either because Apple isn't following the spirit of the ruling whatsoever. Reducing their tax by only 3% is crazy and it's just going to prolong this battle. Like what is Apple's end game here? Do they seriously think that all of the regulators who are like watching their every move are going to be like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's good enough. All right,
I
thank you.
mean,
Yeah, good
look,
job. Good job, Tim."
I'm no legal professional, but if you can't win, you delay, is what I've heard. And that's what they're doing here. And also, they are, it seems, going along with the letter of the law. The complaint was we want to use alternate payment systems, and Apple said, "Oh, okay, here you go. You can
Try
use
this on for
you can
size."
try this. It's going to benefit you in no way. It might even be more onerous than the current way that we do things, and we still want all the money that we think that you owe us." Which is funny because I remember when Steve Jobs first introduced the Apple Store, and his argument was, "Oh, well, we're taking 30%," and people were not happy about that huge cut, obviously. But he was like, "Well, we run the store, we take the payments, and we do all this stuff for you." And I think a big part of that was, "Oh, we manage all the payments and we pay you." And now that's being removed. And they're like, "Oh, we still want the 27%. We'll give you a 3% discount because that's how much payment platforms typically charge. But we still want a majority of our cut." So they're going to structure this in a way where they are uh, um, they are going along with the ruling, but only to the degree that they absolutely have to. Like they're going to do as little as possible.